Hello there. May the peace and blessings of our God Almighty abide with you, beloved child of God. I hope you're doing great. Congratulations on the just concluded 72 hours dry fasting. I believe you also participated because the blessings for this dry fasting was so immense, and I believe you also grabbed yours. Yes, on your screen is Regnum Continuous Legal Education. And of course, this is brought to you by Starcross Television. Welcome to another beautiful and interesting episode where you will have to learn so much. Remember how the saying goes that knowledge is profitable to lead. So make sure that in whatever you learn or you do in a day, make sure you learn something. All right. So I'm not here alone. I have wonderful resource persons that will be talking to us on this particular episode. But to start with, I am Peace Smith, your host on this episode. And I have also here with me, I have Barrister Idara Ebo. Good to have you here, sir. Did I get your name correctly?
Yes.
All right. How are you doing?
Fine. Peace of the Father, beloved brethren. You are welcome to the wonderful and critical topic of the moment.
I can see you said critical.
Very
Critical, right?
Very critical.
All right. So good to have you here. So this like the third time or the second time, if I'm not wrong. I mean, on this program.
It should be the fourth of it.
Oh, okay. All right. Good to have you here. All right. So joining us via Zoom, we have Barrister Sam John Usani. Peace of the Father to you, Barrister. How are you doing? Good to have you joined us on this episode.
Thank you very much. Perfect peace, beloved brethren.
Peace of the Father, sir.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, thank you very much.
So to start with, I hope you also grabbed your blessings on the 72 hours dry fasting we just concluded.
It is the outcome of the dry fasting that we are here today.
Okay, thank you so much. So our topic for this episode is paternity fraud, Christianity, and the law. Let me take that again. The topic is paternity fraud, Christianity, and the law. So on this episode, we will get to know so much about when we are saying paternity fraud, how does it occur, and how can one best, overcome or prevent these situations from, happening. So we'll get to know what is paternity fraud when we start. All right. So this is a live broadcast. You can join us via our Facebook page, our YouTube page as well. Our phone line is displayed on your screen so that you can likely call in, drop your questions. We have erudite and resourceful persons, barristers here to do justice to your questions. Remember, whatever we will be discussing here is surrounding or it's around the corridor of law. What does the law say, particularly Nigerian Constitution? So make sure you don't miss out on this episode. All right. So let's start with understanding what is paternity fraud. I'd like to start with Barrister Idara here with me.
Paternity fraud involves a situation whereby a woman misrepresents a child to a man, which the man assumes that he is the biological father of the child. It is a complex situation in the society based on circumstances that may warrant the woman to present, to deceive, to mislead, to make the man assume the role of a father upon any child, either of marriage or other circumstances that may prevail. It is paternity fraud is not a recent issue, though it has been there. It has been in existence. It's as old as mankind. One will recall an instance in the Bible where, let me say precisely, Genesis chapter 38. This talk about a situation where Judah, after the first and second child had died, the first child died because he was not doing well in the sight of God. The Lord slew him, he died. The second son, Onan, went in and died. Then Judah has to send the daughter-in-law, Tamar, home. On the process, when Judah was on a journey, he met, and Tamar, the daughter-in-law, heard that the father-in-law will be passing. He just dressed as a prostitute, stood there. Judah went in. When the Tamar insisted on the father-in-law, what are you going to give me? The father-in-law had nothing at hand. He now pledged his staff and rings. Now, the father-in-law went in. After some months, the information got to Judah that your daughter-in-law has conceived. Though. It was, in those days, was something that somebody just conceived out of marriage or whatever. So the option was to kill, but by the time Judah discovered that he was the cause of that pregnancy, it was a different scenario altogether.
Okay.
Then if you go to the 1 King chapter 3, verse 16 to 28, this issue of two women struggling, who owns the child, that is another typical, though that is not paternal, is parental fraud in that instance. When they were struggling for who owns this child, you know, the one that was not the mother agreed with the king that the child should be divided into two. But the one that was the mother said, no, give it to the other woman if she claimed that it's a child. You know, so these things have been in existence in human life, one way or the other.
Okay.
But of recent, the issue of paternity fraud now comes much into play. Most especially at times when somebody wants to go outside the country, and with the immigration and all the rules and regulations, the host country actually want to know, if I'm coming with 5 children, are they actually my children? And that is where a lot of discovery has been made.
Okay.
That at times somebody may be taking care of a child for 10, 15, 20 years, but at the point of doing a test, so that it must be confirmed to the host country that that man that's going with 5 children, all of them are his children, is then discovered that some or all may not be.
Wow.
So issue of paternity fraud is not recent. It has been there in existence, just that awareness was not there.
Okay.
And some studies have shown that about 25 to 30% of children does not really belong to the person that assumed as a biological father.
Wow.
Except situation arises where one will go into research or find out. Then a lot of people does not actually belong to the man he or she claimed that is my father. It's very common in society.
Wow. All right, thank you so much, sir. Now, Barrister Idara has made a point. He talked about the misrepresentation or misidentification of a child's father. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
Now, I also understand that there are 2 key dimensions of paternal fraud. I would like to bring in Barrister Sam John to this question. So, there are 2 key dimensions of paternal fraud. It could be unintentional or intentional. So in issues of unintentional, how does the court deal with this? Let's start with that as well.
Okay, thank you very much for that wonderful question. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Please go on. Also give define when we say unintentional and intentional paternity fraud.
Okay. Should I begin by saying that there is, when it comes to paternity fraud, there is nothing like unintentional. Because if you're trying to define what paternity fraud is about, the word deliberate should be used. Deliberate misrepresentation. So you cannot say that a deliberate misrepresentation is unintended. So apparently, a woman who engages in parental or paternal misrepresentation could be adjudged to have deliberately done so. So that is my take. And then one key thing we need to understand about this thing is that we need to understand, probably within the context of the reason, or let's say the pressure that makes them to go into such act. At times, most women will look at the financial security of the children, the intended children whom the woman is pregnant for may not have a good financial standing to cater for this child. And then for that reason, they will now, misrepresent the pregnancy to a man whom they perceive has the financial standing to cater for the child. So another factor might arise probably on the basis that societal interests, by virtue of the fact that host community, they lay importance on male children, and then out of constraint, the woman might decide to say, okay, let me try outside and then see how I can be able to, if I can get a male child and then secure my position in this family. So a lot of things. So you cannot adjudge such act as unintended.
I would like to come in there, Barrister Sam John, because I understand in the course of my research, I noticed that when we are talking about unintentional paternity error, that the woman genuinely believes that the man is the father, and then maybe later, such cases arise that they have to go for a DNA test. At least you wouldn't want me to open up and tell you, okay, this may be the reasons why such happened. But I think I've had the opportunity of watching some cases like that where they have to go to a court seeking for validation. And at some point, it's been discovered the woman was strongly saying, oh, this is the father of the child. But at some point, it has been discovered that this is not the father of the child. In that process, the woman was strictly sure. She was so sure that this could be the father. So in such cases, please, I wouldn't want you to say there are no cases of unintentionality. In such cases, I can see Barrister Idara, say no to my discussion, but I'll still like you to say something because I feel there's a provision for this in Nigerian Constitution. So I'll still like you to say something to this.
Yeah. Regarding the law on paternity fraud, I think I understand your question clearly now. In a situation where the woman in question have no idea as to whom the father probably believes or reasonably believes that the father of the child is the man in question. I understand your question from that perspective correctly now. So let's look at the position of the courts. The courts, because as big as our jurisprudence in Nigeria is, it is quite sad that this is one very key area that has not been codified. It's not covered by the Nigerian law, although we have we have the Matrimonial Causes Act, which merely talks about custody, and the Child Rights Act talks about parental responsibility, and the rest. You look at Section 71, and then Section 68. This, when they come before the court, we have seen some very few cases in court. There is one, Olalewaju was at the High Court of Lagos State. But that's in that matter particularly, yes, in that matter particularly, that's an unreported case because it was at the High Court. The court looked at the circumstances surrounding the allegation, and then the court now took into consideration the welfare of the children, and then say, okay, for the basis of the fact that, okay, these findings reveals that this is actually the outcome, but the court went further to say the welfare of the children is more paramount, and as such, ordered that the man should continue to take care of the children. Now, there is another one. There's another case, I think is the case of Eze versus Eze, reported in 2021. Yeah, Eze versus Eze. In that light, when the court came to the finding that the child in question does not belong to the mother, the court ordered that the financial responsibility accruable to the children should be stopped on the basis that the man in question is not the father of the children. So what we have been facing lately is as a result of the fact that we've been having conflicting decisions depending on the moral interpretation and understanding of what the court feels it is appropriate in that circumstance. But it would have been much easier if paternity fraud is actually codified, or there's a law on it. Like in Nigeria, there's no law, but in UK, it is regulated. In US, there are provisions for such offenses. It is actually an offense. So, but in law, in Nigeria, I think it's still a work in progress. Maybe we'll keep recommending that such provision be made. The most challenging aspect of it is the fact that these acts are more prevalent in Nigeria than any other country in the world. And it is gradually becoming very secular. So it calls for attention. So that is it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. I think we will still have to revisit that because you've said something about the courts, being, deemed fit to, execute whatever they feel is right at that point, because we have scenarios where you would say that it's beyond the court's jurisdiction at that point. So maybe, I know bro Idara here had something to add. Please go ahead, sir.
Well, when you mention unintentional paternity fraud, except this issue of baby factories that come into existence.
What do you mean by baby factories?
Yes, there are some people that are selling children.
Okay.
And at times, even within the maternity homes, you see, a process may occur where so many children are being born at a particular time. The nurses, the midwives may along the line identified the children or the babies, which at the end of it all, they will assign it to a child that belongs to A. They may mistakenly or intentionally give to B, because there have been rumors and stories of such acts being common these days. And that is where they may be unintentional.
Okay.
But when we talk of fraud, fraud has element of deceit, lies, misrepresentation, intentional. So when everyone says unintentional, probably it's a mistake. In such a situation, it would have been proper, if such occur, it would have been proper to go back to the history during when the child was born, under what circumstances, what is the reputation and the integrity of the environment that the child was born. So because the mother may not know that that child that has been given to her, which she is taking to the husband, is not her child. It's very common these days that you see a situation where somebody is looking for a male child, and there, except that, especially in an illiterate environment where one just go and born. Okay. But we are a situation that the woman during prenatal period has gone to do scan and probably will detect the sex of the baby. Such situation can be, if such situation occurs, say no, that woman can be convenient, say no, the scan says I'm supposed to put birth to a female child and not a male, and in that way. But anything in the typical, all these local maternity places, it is very common that such thing could occur. If the midwife, whether the local or whoever, is not God-fearing, okay, it can be induced financially to exchange the child, and that's only when unintentional paternity may come
in. All right, thank you so much, Barrister Idara. So at this point, we will be taking a short break, but don't forget we are still talking on paternity fraud, Christianity, and the law. When we come back, we will continue. The discussion is just getting started. You don't know what else you might learn at the end of the discussion. Please stay tuned.
BCS Music.
For the invisible things of him from the creations of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
Yes, I knew it.
The supreme signature of our Lord and Master is Holiness Olumba Olumba Obu, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, is the divine signatory responsible for the spiritual upliftment of mankind. It is the sacred endorsement of our God as the physical embodiment of the Holy Spirit and the sole spiritual head of the universe.
This is not a merely symbolic act, but it is a profound cosmic event affirming the unfolding of God's kingdom on earth, manifest through brotherhood of the cross and star, divinely established by Jehovah God and His Christ, His Holiness Olumba Olumba Obu.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
the baby
you.
is so fine.
Thank you.
For I confirm that you are the heavenly Father. You are the heavenly Father. You are the mighty Father.
Today, the inhabitants of the earth plane joyfully celebrates the supreme signature, which symbolizes the heavenly seals and divine ratification, marking the moment when the authority and mission of our most holy Father was spiritually endorsed by the heavenly host.
For over 20 years and still counting, his divine supreme signature continues to impact the world.
His supreme signature makes Barrenland faithful.
In light of the above, Starcross TV International invites all children of the living God to felicitate with our Father on the occasion of the 20th anniversary celebration of His Supreme Signature.
This invitation is open to all fellowships, natural bodies, nations, states, zone, areas, and individuals.
And BCS establishments.
Join me and also send in your video felicitation in a landscape format to the email address displayed on your screen.
Or call or send a WhatsApp message to either of those numbers +234 81 250 28396 or +234 81 3365 9145 for your Scroba felicitations.
I am his son. He gives me eternal life. Eternal life, everlasting life. He has given to
Management BCS Starcross TV International, the voice of the universe.
He has given to you. King of kings, Lord of
That was a beautiful demonstration and announcement on the 20th Supreme Signature anniversary that is forthcoming. So if you have not felicitated with the Holy Father or this special occasion, please do well to do so. You can reach out to the External Relations Manager of Starcross Television to get more information on the felicitation proper. All right, so you're still watching Regnum Continuous Legal Education here on Starcross Television, and we are still discussing on the topic paternity fraud, Christianity, and the law with our wonderful guest right here in the studio, and of course our wonderful guest who joined us via the Zoom. To continue with our topic, I would like to bring in Barrister Idara. Yes, yeah, welcome back, sir. Yes. So I would like you, I know in the course of discussion you all made mention of some of the causes of paternity fraud, but I would like you to boldly highlight on each of the causes.
Yes. Paternity fraud in Nigeria being an undeveloped society, there are several causes that may lead to paternity fraud. I want to mention just few. You see, stigmatization of adoption.
Okay.
You see, in this society, we value family having procreating their own children. So maybe in the relationship, either of them may be infertile, and being afraid of what the society will take them to be, a woman may go out to get the child, so that let people see that she got pregnant and she put to bed. Especially, she may equally do it to protect an infertile husband. It's very possible that she can do it. Then adultery causes a lot of it.
Okay.
Fornication in the society, like it was earlier mentioned, the social standing, financial standing of the yet to be father. Somebody may conceive somewhere, maybe has been in an affair with 2-3 people. I will just look at one. So this one can be able to take care of this responsibility. Just take it and say you are the cause of this pregnancy. The other issue could come from, you see, there are situations that somebody is being raped. And in this society, it will be very hard for a woman, especially a married person, if she's raped, to tell the husband that I've been raped. Such a situation, the woman may conceive, was raped, then she has to take it to the husband that they look. She will not disclose it because people see that I will go to court and testify that I have been raped. No, people will take you as that person has no integrity. Why should that person come out in the public to tell the society that she has been raped? But in a developed society, it's the other way around. That a woman will conveniently go to court and testify that A or B raped her. Somebody that a situation may arise that somebody have multiple sex partners in a day.
Okay.
That could lead to paternity fraud. Under that situation, we don't know which of them actually is the owner of this childbirth. Let me look at Mr. A very high figure in the society, is financially balanced. Let me take to such person. Okay. So these are some of the issues. See, failure of parental care comes in. Even the youths themselves, they try so many things in the society. When it bounces back adversely, they will look for where to hide. You see, the issue of this, sometimes ago I mentioned issue of baby factories. People now groom people to give birth so that those people that are looking for children one way or the other can easily come there to buy. These are some of the issues in our society that brings about paternity fraud.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, sir. Now let's look at some of the common challenges when addressing paternity fraud. Please, I would like you, sir, Barrister John, to take care of that.
Okay. There is something I want us to correct actually.
Okay.
Yes.
Please go on.
About paternity fraud. If it is fraud, it means it is intentional.
intentional.
It is deliberate. So it won't be fraud if there is a consensus by both parties. If circumstantially certain thing leads to the birth of the child, the only challenge the child might face is the issue of that stigma, or eventually, run into depression. But it is fraud, paternity fraud, when the act is done deliberately. So, aside from these examples, any act that is done deliberately is paternity, is intentional. So all other acts might fall under some exceptional circumstances, which we cannot even allege them to be paternity fraud, bearing in mind the circumstances surrounding them.
Okay.
So now, back to your question.
The common challenges.
Yeah, the challenges in addressing paternity fraud. Just like I stated earlier, in some of the Western countries, they have codified this as an offense. It is actually an offense. In the UK, I think in the UK, their law provides that the child is not entitled, the woman who commits that offense entitles the man to restitution. What it means is that all that is spent on the child, the woman will pay everything back to the man. I think they have a similar law in US. But in Nigeria, there is no statutory provision for paternity fraud, except this offense wants to be generalized under our general criminal law, which can come under deceit, offense of deceit, which does not specifically provide for the remedy. An offense is against the state. So punishments are usually meted on conviction and sentencing. But why it is important for paternity fraud to be codified is because there has to be a direction so that somebody who is a victim can be entitled to remedy. Because in law, once there is a wrong, there has to be a remedy. So what we are facing currently with regards to paternity fraud is the fact that there is already the wrong, but the remedy is yet to come to bear. That's one of the fundamental challenges we are facing, lack of statutory provision. So that is why most times you see the court will just begin to look at circumstances and then come to a conclusion that the court deems fit to be just and reasonable.
Okay, so sir, still on that. Please, can you hear me? Still on that fundamental challenges, I would like you to, talk about the Child Rights Act of 2003. How does it relate? Because you are saying that we do not have a statutory legal framework right here in Nigeria. Now, related to the Child Rights Act of 2003.
Okay. I stated earlier that there are no statutory framework bordering on paternity fraud. The Matrimonial Causes Act about custody, guardianship, welfare, advancement, and education of children. That's if you look at Section 71. Then if you look at the Child Rights Act, which is a law enacted for the protection of children. This law did not specifically provide for paternity fraud. The law basically laid emphasis on the welfare of the children, responsibility, and issue of custody. The law empowers the child to decide at a certain age which of the parents they want to be with. So that is the point I'm trying to make. Then, on the issue of the challenges, just like I told you, or rather, should I say causes, like I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Constraints on the part of the woman can lead to paternity fraud. Let's say financial constraints, environmental or social constraints arising from pressure from the family. So basically, that is what it is about. If a woman, okay, let me cite an example now of a life experience I had in my place. I come from Ugep, we are called local government of Cross River State. I used to have one very prominent uncle. Okay, we know him from our place. He's a lawyer, very prominent as at then. He lived with his supposed father for a very long time. He was brilliant. He went to school. He became a lawyer, and he was successful. All this while, he didn't know that the man who raised him was not his biological father, because the man showed him the same love he showed all his other children. So it got to a point where he needed to develop his own property, like build a house in the village. So normally where I come from, they don't just sell land outrightly. Your family, they allocate land to family, and then the family in turn gives to individual. So when they summon the family and notify them of his intention to get a plot of land to build, that was when he was reminded, or he got to know that he was not from that family.
Wow. That could be very devastating.
Very, very devastating, in the sense that this man I'm talking about is not a young boy. He has over many years believing that the man in question was his father, and the man knew, but he just trained him. So when he got to know, it was very difficult for him. He started asking his parents, and they told him, they said, "Come, you are not from this." He had to go to that village, trace his ancestral home, try to identify with the people, and then he came back after a week, and he told them, he said, "All my life, I have lived and grew up here with you people. It is so difficult for me to start a new life with those people. Please accept me back." They said, "No, there's no problem. That it is not the fact that they didn't want. They just wanted him. They just wanted to know that he is not from here." But do you know that this man did not live long after that incident?
Yes, psychological problem.
He didn't live long after that incident. I think about 2 years after, he passed. These are the consequences that can befall the children when they get to find out these things.
Okay, so before we move ahead to talking about the consequences, thank you so much, Barrister John. I'll still like Barrister Idara here. I can see you're nodding your head. You have a lot to say about that. But then let's look at the religious, some of the religious approaches to this paternity fraud.
On issue of religious approach to paternity fraud, all the religious organizations strictly expect members, followers to strictly adhere to the dictates of the religion. In Christianity, starting from Christianity, it is not expected for man or woman to go into any relationship that may bring forth a child if they are not married. It's not expected. The Bible, several Bible portions have emphasized on that. If you look at Hebrew chapter 13 verse 4, the Bible says that marriage should be undefiled. If you look at Romans chapter 7 verses 2 to 3, the women are expected to strictly be for their husband, and vice versa. The same thing applicable to the man. Because when we talk of issue of paternity fraud, if the man was not available outside, there wouldn't have been issue of paternity fraud. Though the woman is now, all the blame goes to the woman, but the availability of man contribute to issue of paternity fraud. You look at the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 18, also deal on fidelity among the parties. You see, of recent, we did mention of parental care.
Yeah.
These days, it's very, very hard for children or for parents to control children. In the traditional African society, it was very rare for marriage to take place. If on the day of when a lady is being married, it's being discovered that such a person is not a virgin, the shame is not only to the lady, to the parents, and to the entire society. And these are in tandem with even the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ and our Father. And when one look at the Bible, upon all the sin, this is the one that affects the body. So when we talk of religious approach, Christianity or even Muslim, in Muslim, they have this penal code, section 38, 37, 38, emphasize on that. Back to the Christianity. The Bible has specifically told us the only problem with man is that we have consistently failed to adhere to the strict requirement of our beliefs. That is where religious issues now come into play.
Okay.
If one act, if the society adheres strictly to the religious requirements, issue of paternity fraud will be very, very rare in the society. It will be very, very rare. But because we have not, and the consequence, unlike taking it from the societal point of view, where one will go and do DNA tests and the rest of the things, the one of religion is only when that person will pass on that will go and meet the Creator and give accounts of what he or she did while on earth. And because of there is no immediate punishment, then one goes, we go haywire and do whatever we like, which is contrary to the religious or religion we profess.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So, Barrister John, do you have something to add as per the religious approaches to paternity fraud? Brother John, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes. Do you have something to add as per the religious approaches? Although Barrister Idara has been able to highlight some, do you still have some to add to that?
I really appreciate Barrister Idara for his input and contributions too. He has said so well. In order to add to what he has said, just a few, is that morally, it is wrong for a child of God to engage in such act. It is prohibited in the Bible.
Okay.
If you look at the book of Proverbs, Proverbs 12, chapter 12, verse 22, he said, the Lord detests lying lips. But if he delights in people, he delights in people who are trustworthy. This comes to the fact that we have to be truthful. We have to be truthful. You look at Ephesians chapter 4:25. It goes further to say, therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbors, for we are all members of one body. So these are biblical guidance that lays credence to why we shouldn't engage in paternity fraud, and as such, children of God should try as much as possible to, be morally upright.
Okay.
It goes on and on. Colossians 3:9, Galatians 6, verse 7. Those are verses that really talks more and then prohibits such acts. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Sam John. Yes, we're still talking about paternity fraud, Christianity, and the law. Let's take a quick break. When we are back, we'll continue the discussion.
Are you searching for where to tell your real stories that inspires, uplift, and transform lives? Stories that echo with hope, healing, and the power of faith? Then you do not want to miss out on this unique opportunity presented by Starcross Television. Testimony and Experience, a powerful program where lives are changed and the Father's glory is revealed. Each episode brings heartfelt testimony from people just like you, individuals who have faced trials, triumphed through faith, and are ready to share how God moved into lives. From miraculous healing to life-changing encounters, Testimony and Experience is more than a show. It is a spiritual journey that will stir your soul and strengthen your faith. Join, watch and be part of this growing community of believers who are not afraid to testify and celebrate the goodness of our Holy Father, His Holiness Olumba Obu. Your testimony could be next. Your experience can be the light someone else needs. Don't just hear the story, be moved by it. Testimony and Experience, where faith speaks and lives are touched. For further inquiry, please contact the following numbers: +2348 13365 9145 and +2347 01005 106.
Hood of the Cross and Star 51 Ngo Bethel joyfully invites all children of God to a 57th anniversary celebration converging for solar power system with the theme Celebrating the Divine Illumination of 51 Ngo Bethel. Date is Friday 25th through Sunday 27th July 2025. Venue 51 Ngo Street, Mile 1, Buick, Port Harcourt, River State, under the distinguished chairmanship of Petra Christ Shepherd Honorable Michael Idenabo West, with the State Administrator Petra Christ Shepherd Ezimonia O. Mary J. as Father of the Day. The event shall feature insightful activities such as evangelism, healing service, visitations, humanitarian services, presentation of awards, spiritual chorus competition, entertainment by GABA, 51 Ngo Sabbath children, and lots more. Chief appreciators for the event shall include His Grace Archbishop Clifford Paul, His Grace Archbishop King Twado Wiko, His Grace Archbishop Precious Effiong, His Lordship Bishop John Bassi, Her Eminence Adetun Abelekum, His Grace Archbishop His Royal Majesty E.T. Ibiagolika, Christ Ambassador Prince Zonare, and many others. For more inquiries, please contact Her Eminence Idoche Okenwe, Chairman Planning Committee, on +234 806 685 2399, or Divine Vanguard Samuel Bassi, Secretary Planning Committee, on +234 816 516 9934. 144,000 Virgin Brother Boma Daka and True Christ Witness Samuel Ekebe, Bethel Priest. Announcer Blessed Mother Betty Ohonda, Bethel Administrator. Thank you.
Welcome back. You're still watching Regnum Continuous Legal Education here on Starcross Television. We are still waiting for your comments on our Facebook page and of course on our YouTube page. Yes, because we have limited time to call this program a wrap for this episode. All right, so I still have here with me Barrister Ibraibo Ebo and of course Barrister Sam John Usani. Good to have you back, Sam.
It's a pleasure.
All right, so now let's look at because although you rightly talked about, or was it Barrister John that rightly talked about the Child Right Act of 2003?
Yes,
so now
yes.
let's look at issues of the customary law. How does it interplay when it comes to paternity fraud?
Well, in African society and culture, a lot of society tolerates and accommodates a child that is not actually produced by the father. It accommodates. But that accommodation is creating some societal problem these days.
Okay.
Because once in a while we hear that that is not my brother. One of the siblings will tell that is not from my brother. He cannot inherit my father's property. It is very common. That African culture and tradition and acceptance is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and conscience. How can we bring in or take or own a child that does not belong to that person. It used to be very common that because Mr. A has not paid bride price for on the woman, that child belongs to the parents. It is wrong. It is wrong in law because there is propensity for that child to be segregated in future by that grandparent house. It's very common. Even in Igbo culture, there used to be this culture that the first child, the first daughter, if the parents were unable to have a male child, the first daughter should stay around and procreate into the family. But suppose on the process of that procreation, everything that comes is still a female child.
Okay. But I don't think that culture is still in progress.
Well, most of these cultures have faded away.
Okay.
But what we are saying is that though several of our culture accommodate it, looking at it in law, it is against equity, is repugnant, so it is not advisable. Those were, you see, our forefathers accumulated so many things. They had that tolerance for so many issues. But of recent, it is not like that. You see, there are some prominent families. There was one politician in Nigeria, very, very, very prominent. Very, very prominent. And I think as at then he was the wealthiest man in Nigeria. He made a comment that by the time he's not around, and so any child that comes to claim that I was his father, they should conduct DNA tests.
Oh, okay.
You see, while he was alive, accommodated, once a woman will go, you are the cause, he will take care of the child.
Oh.
But he placed that caveat. Once I am not alive, and anybody, before my property is being shared, my estate is being shared to my children,
so they will have to carry
DNA test to identify who are actually my children.
Wow. Okay, wait for that. Sorry, sir, because we are actually working with time. So I'll still like you to talk about the disciplinary approach that concerns paternity fraud.
Well,
is there like a fine when anyone is caught?
Well, there is in those days, taking the African culture, once it is discovered that an intruder has joined the family, most often the mother may be divorced.
Okay, but I'm talking about in the legal terms. Maybe this case is being taken to.
Legally, as they do, we call it fraud, which points so much to criminal law.
Oh.
The only remedy in Nigeria as of today is civil proceeding. Torts. You can go on torts. You have created a situation where I am made to take care of what does not belong to me. I have spent so much money. By the time we have made this discovery, there's a lot of psychological trauma and the rest of the things. Come and pay me damages. The only remedy in Nigeria as of today is in civil action and not criminal action.
Okay, so what are those things when it comes to civil actions?
One will go to court.
Do they have to pay a specific amount?
No, the law does. It depends on, you see, that one is at the discretion of the judge.
Okay.
Or of the court.
Okay.
Because by the time you put your claims across, the other party may have to defend, and the court will look at the issue and decide whether can award damages or not.
Because we are calling it fraud, that means there should be form of emotional damage attached to it.
Even if we all know that it's not there should be. It is already in existence.
Okay.
But because we are yet to make a law, criminal law, to take care of the situation.
Okay, that means there is no fine.
There's no fine.
Wow.
There's no fine. See, in Nigeria criminal jurisprudence, once that thing is not made a crime, there can never be punishment for it.
Okay, I don't know if Barrister John has anything to say as regards to this. So in the bit of talking, I would also like you to look at some of the remedies as applied to paternity fraud. How can we best avoid this or solve this situation in our society?
Okay, thank you very much for...
But please make an attempt to my question. Do you agree with Barrister Idara that there is no fine or whatsoever as when a victim or someone is being victimized as regards to paternity fraud?
Okay, thank you. Just like I said earlier, for the punishment of the offense. So as we speak as of today, the only remedy is civil action. It's a civil action. I totally align with you.
Okay. All right. So what are the remedies? Sorry.
That aspect as a crime. It is, although it is referred to as fraud, but it has not been specifically passed, and inscripted in our laws that this is an offense, and so person who wants to seek redress might go through a civil action, just like he has said, other thoughts, whatever route such person can come
Thank you so much on that, sir. Kindly proceed to some of the remedies one can employ.
Okay, talking about remedies, should we start by saying individually we should be cautious. The women should also, uphold the moral dictates of life. I think that will go a long way to cope the situation, because if you ask me, it's actually a gender thing. Okay. And then if we are talking about institution-wise, the only way you can be able to discover if there is an existing paternity fraud is when a DNA test has been conducted and then the results turns out to be so. So institution-wise, the government should make DNA tests very affordable so that everybody or anybody who has doubts for the existence of his or her child can go and conduct the test peacefully. That's another suggestion I think I can make in the circumstance. And then basically it's just that children of God should, uphold their moral dictates and stick to the biblical guidelines, which is to the effect that as a child of God, we should not engage in these practices. We should not engage in these practices for whatsoever reason.
Okay.
So, that is it.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Barrister Sam John Usani, and of course, Barrister Idara. Please, do you have something to add, like a conclusion?
What I will have said to conclude that paternity fraud is an institutional problem, that the legislature, the government, the church, the society at large should put heads together to solve the problems.
Okay.
They should make DNA tests affordable and easily accessible. as my learned brother have said, the parties should be a bit more fiddled. They should uphold the religious requirements so that we can have free and better and harmonious society for everybody.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, it's been very wonderful right here on site with my two wonderful and erudite resource persons who talked on or spoke on the topic paternity fraud, Christianity and the law. Like I started by saying, knowledge is profitable to lead. So whenever we come up to discuss these law terms, make sure you stay glued to your television. Don't say, oh, it's not this, it's not that. You have to learn because you don't know where you would need this knowledge to apply. All right, so this is how far we can go. I am Peace Smith. Until next time on the same station on Friday by 7 p.m. Ensure that you always stay glued to your television. Have a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.